What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Crew 2, and in this video I'm going to take a look at the Porsche 918 Spyder Silvery Edition. Now, I'm not going to lie, I wasn't actually going to do this car because I felt like a lot of people really didn't care too much for it, but there is one reason why I did want to cover this vehicle compared to the regular 918. So I'm sure a lot of people know this, but this car probably isn't used all that much. I mean, I honestly have not seen really anybody use the regular 918 on the Crew 2, at least unless you actually had to in a summit. But one thing, guys, I noticed right off the bat with this car is this thing actually is going to be a wide body. If you guys were wondering, by the way, the regular 918 Spyder does not actually have the wide body kit. So I thought that was honestly kind of cool, the fact that this vehicle did, and it honestly doesn't look all that bad. I mean, the fitment might not be the greatest on there, but I would say overall, this car is definitely going to look pretty dang unique with the color scheme that's on it. So it's obviously the Silvery edition. I guess that's probably the color, I would think, because I think that's silver. And then one thing I also noticed about the 918 Spyder that I thought was pretty cool is going to be the color of the rims here. So I know that really doesn't seem like a big deal, but unfortunately on the Crew 2 you can't actually paint the rims on your vehicle. My goodness, what are we doing right now? But regardless, I would say the rims on this 918 do look pretty awesome. Like the blue and green definitely stand out a bit, and it's going to be pretty unique compared to the regular vehicle. Then obviously on the back you guys can see the different colors on it as well. So I would say this car is going to be pretty awesome. I'm sure many players are probably going to get the motor pass this time around because, well, you can actually buy this thing finally, which is pretty cool, but with that's going to bring starter pack vehicles. Different topic, but nonetheless, though, I would say this car is going to be pretty sweet, and it is currently going to be the only wide body Porsche 918 Spyder in the game, so at least this car is going to be pretty dang unique. And now taking an outside look of the Porsche 918 Spyder, I would say this car is definitely going to look pretty awesome, especially being in the game. Like, I really do like the wide body kit on this vehicle. It's going to make it feel more unique in a way because, like I said before, I never see anybody run the 918 Spyder. Let me know what you guys think about this car in the comments below, by the way. Are you a fan of the 918? I really feel like a lot of people like the car, but I also think to a certain extent it might end up coming down to the fact of when you think of a Porsche, when you think of something insanely fast, I feel like a lot of people are not going to think of the 918 Spyder. For me personally, I immediately jump toward like the GT2 RS or something like that. So the 918 is definitely going to be an insanely rare car for that matter, but one thing I just noticed, by the way, is anybody else noticing the paint at nighttime? Like, that actually looks really cool. It was looking a little bit different in the daytime, but now at nighttime, the car is almost like a whitish silver color. Like, that looks really awesome. And then jumping into the interior of the car as well, I have noticed it doesn't look all that different from the regular 918. It's basically the exact same thing with the green going around it. And to be honest, I would say you could probably do something similar to the regular car, but then again, how many people are actually running the 918 on the Crew 2? And now moving over to the top speed test on the 918 Spyder here. Also, why is it so foggy out of nowhere? My goodness. But regardless, guys, I would say many players are still going to end up picking certain hypercars over others. What I find really interesting about this is the fact that the hypercar and or street class is probably going to be the most competitive classes in the game. Like, for example, the new Lamborghini Countach, which I'm pretty sure I am mispronouncing that second word there, but regardless, that car is going to be like the new meta in the street class. Like, it's going to be that good. What's kind of interesting though is in the recent summit as well, I was noticing the hypercar Countach also being insanely good as well. So I have a feeling Lamborghini is going to start showing up more, at least in the summits in the future, which I think is pretty awesome. That car also does 319 miles an hour. So let's see what this Porsche can get to. So now hitting the nitrous right now on the 918 Spyder, let's see what we can get to. Oh, I almost hit that car. So we are at 312, 313. So it looks like 314 is going to be the top speed on this vehicle. But do keep in mind, guys, you will have to use most of your nitrous to do so. So I would say like 310, 311 is going to be the top speed of the 918 Spyder, which is going to put it insanely close to like the Bugatti Divo and or the new Lamborghini Countach. I would say this car is going to be pretty dang competitive, but to be honest, guys, I'd say this car is most likely going to get overshadowed by some of the better hypercars. So now jumping right into the Bronx hypercar race with the Spyder Silvery Edition. I did want to test this vehicle out on a different hyper race because I always do the Hollywood, but nonetheless though, there is a few things I did want to go over with this car. So one thing guys I would say, I don't think this car is going to be like one of the worst hypercars, I guess so to speak. I think we can all agree there is a lot of hypercars on the Crew 2 that are basically like buried and or kind of forgotten because let's be honest, they're probably not going to be that good and or they have too many flaws that kind of outweigh them, so there's really no point of really running them. And we also have something like the Bugattis in the game as well that have basically been owning the hyperclass for a while. Now I would say the Porsche 918 is not going to be a really bad car as I did mention before. Sure, this car might have kind of weird acceleration to be honest, like I have noticed once you hit like 285, you will have to have nitrochemists on this thing to actually get higher speeds, which is normally how most of the hypercars work because the top speed on most of them is like 280 miles an hour. But nonetheless though guys, I would say the 918 is going to be really good with that. And one of the other big positives is going to be that 312 miles an hour as a top speed. It puts it like 7 miles an hour slower than the Bugatti Divo, but also insanely close to like the Super Sport. So I would say this thing is pretty competitive, and using something like the 918 on maybe some of those longer events could actually work in a way because this car does have that higher top speed. Now one thing I also did want to go over is the fact that I did notice after driving a Bugatti Divo then jumping into like the Porsche 918 here, I have definitely seen a difference with the higher speed stability in both vehicles. So I'm sure I'm probably not the only one here that has noticed that sometimes the Bugatti Divo and or honestly any of the Bugattis for that matter get insanely squirrely very easily. So for example, if you guys are going over like a little hill or you jump a little bit or the car loses traction just a little bit on like a bump or something, I did notice the cars kind of like struggle and or get squirrely, kind of slide a bit. That can definitely take some of your confidence away at higher speeds, especially if you guys need to dodge a car. I have been finding myself having issues with that as well. Luckily, I would say the 918 is not going to be in that category with the Bugattis. I think the higher speed stability on this car is going to be more top tier focused. It doesn't seem to lose itself as much and it's very planted for the most part. That will also be a really good confidence booster as well. Being able to be planted on some of the corners is going to be a really good feeling, but being able to dodge some of the cars without having the car spin out or get squirrely is definitely something I would say most people are going to be looking for. But overall, I would say the 918 Spyder Silvery Edition is definitely going to be worth a look. This car is indeed in the Motor Pass though guys, so if you do want it, you will have to get the Motor Pass. I would recommend going after it though because it is going to be the only wide-body 918 in the game at the moment, unless something insane happens in the future and we get something like this in a Summit. But let me know your thoughts on this car in the comments below, and here are the settings I'm currently running on this vehicle.